It's Mailbag Monday. Let's see what you want to know. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, October 27th, 2025. This is Tarik Skubal and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/control the zone. Link in the description of this episode. Let's open up the mailbag like we do here every Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. Ham Swaggerty 69 is going to kick us off here. How much do you think the Mariners miss Max Weiner? There's also a second question here asking, do you believe that instead of the pile of arms approach, the Mariners will invest into the bullpen instead? So to answer the first part of your question about Max Weiner, who was the Mariners pitching coordinator up until July of 2023, wound up going to the University of Texas to be their assistant coach. I feel like the timing of Weiner's departure and the sudden regression that we've seen from the Mariners and being able to develop relief talent at the major league level pretty much out of thin air is too on the nose to be a coincidence. You think about it, right? Like obviously this year, Edward Bizardo turned into what he did, and you got some value out of Carlos Vargas, things like that. But like you didn't get the next like legit reliever to come out of basically nowhere like we had seen in the past with like the Paul Sewalds and the Gabe Spires of the world. You didn't get that this year. And you haven't gotten that in a little while, frankly. You've seen, again, some guys like take next steps, but like this year, for example, it felt like, in years past, like that guy would have been like Casey Legumina, and it wasn't. And on the flip side of that, too, you've also seen the Mariners give up on some guys that have wound up having, pretty nice success elsewhere, right? Like Luke Weaver, like Drew Pomeranz. So I think, all of that in combination, I think it can at least be partly attributed to Max Weiner no longer being part of this thing. He was obviously a big part of identifying talent like this and developing it and kind of identifying the things that they would want to tweak and work on and to get the most out of these guys. And again, we haven't seen them really do that for the most part over the last couple of years since he's left. So to answer the second part of your question, I don't think they're just going to go out on free agency and spend money on a reliever. Now they might go trade for a guy that's making a little bit of money. But I think that the way that they're going to go about this is trading resources for relievers, like they have done in the past, like they tried to do at the deadline with Yohan Duran, like they did with Gregory Santos a couple of years ago. I think we'll see. I don't know if they'll try and make a big splash like they did with Duran, but I could definitely see them doing something like Gregory Santos again. Mm-hmm. Maybe something a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I mean, well, like Gregory Santos, they should try and make a trade like that every winter because it's just good process. Santos was coming off of a great year. It just hasn't happened for him here. He's been hurt. He's been banged up, and they still have him for 3 more years. That's the beauty of trading for a guy, with 5 years of club control left. So they should try to make a trade like that every time, and you just kind of hope that it works out, now where it hasn't quite worked out with Santos yet. But I mean, Weiner was huge in that regard, like finding the players who, were being either underutilized or misused, or like the most famous example is Paul Sewald, right? Where like the Mets were like, you got to keep your fastball down. You got to throw more sliders. Like you're throwing 93. You can't be at the top of the zone and blah, blah, blah. And the Mariners were just like, no, throw your fastball at the top of the zone. Like just do what you were doing. and it worked. And Seawald and Steckenrider and Spire and, Bizzardo, even though it took a little bit to get him going, like they were finding these guys. It seemed like one or two a year would pop out of nowhere, and that would be great. And you needed that when you weren't going to spend a lot of money on your ball club. You need to find a way to cut corners payroll wise, and the bullpen is a really good place to do that. And so they were good at it. They were well above average at it. And now I think they're probably just closer to average. I mean, like they've had some hits since he left. You got a really good year out of Colin Snyder just last year. And again, they've identified some guy like Drew Pomerantz would have been one of those top guys. He would have been up there with, Paul Sewald had they kept him around, but they didn't identify him well enough. Tyson Miller, another guy like that, who they brought in, they saw something, they identified him correctly. But then once they had him, they didn't identify him as the guy that, would pop. And they chose, Casey Legamino over Drew Pomerantz this year. And whoops. Like it's just one of those things where, they've had some success in signing that guy, but they haven't been able to keep him around and successfully utilize that player. They've done it a couple times over the years without Weiner, but it's clearly some kind of impact because they're not as good at it as they used to be. So, I think they do miss him to some extent. I don't know how much. Like, I'm not going to pretend I know the full extent of his role and how much he had a hand in that. But I mean, pretty clearly the results would say he was important. So do I think the Mariners are going to go spend and are they going to give, I don't even know, the reliever, Robert Suarez, are they going to go give him, $20 million a year? No.
And it's also just in general, not a great free agents market for relievers. Like there's some guys, but there's always
always guys. Yeah. And by the way, even was it Morosi yesterday? Broached the idea of the Mariners might want to go to Munoz and try to sign him to another extension, even though he's got 3 years left on his deal. No, they shouldn't. The Mariners are not a team that should be spending $15 million a year on a reliever, one guy, because they're not going to spend enough to back that up. If you're the Dodgers and you're going to spend more money than, whoever, then you can afford to risk $20 million a year on Tanner Scott, which by the way, did not work.
Yeah. So,
you could afford to do the 20 million thing on Josh Hader, which whether or not that's worked, kind of up in the air. He's been good, but has it been worth it? Not really.
Yeah. So, I mean, even with Edwin, right? In the contract the Mets gave Edwin, Edwin has had some dominant years, some dominant months, but he's also been kind of inconsistent at times. So in the end, he's a reliever. Relievers are so, even the best of them, they're so finicky. They're so volatile. You don't know what you're going to get on a year-to-year basis. I just have never subscribed to the idea of you should pay real money because it just never seems like you're going to get that value back. It just to me, the best way to build a bullpen is to constantly filter guys out. Now you keep a couple of them if you can get them on, pretty team friendly deals, and like the Mariners have here with Munoz, for example. But for the most part, you just try to filter guys out and trust your development here. And again, just going to tie this all back together, it just doesn't seem like the Mariners have been great in that department lately since Max Weiner left. All right, we'll answer more of your questions here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It's Mailbag Monday. Let's get back into your questions. Code wants to know, what would you like to see the team prioritize the most this offseason? Better contact, more speed, better defense. The last one there. Better defense. Better defense, better defense, better defense. If you are going to be a run prevention club, which is ultimately what this club is built to be with its rotation, you need to not half step it. You need to go all in on that. You need to be better defensively than they have. While they are great up the middle in terms of like their catcher and their center fielder, and they've had, pretty good defense at, in right field with like Victor Robles, for example, and they had really good first base defense, after they traded for Josh Naylor. Overall, defense was a problem for them in a lot of different areas this year. And it's been a problem area for them for multiple years now. And it's like, okay, I get it. Pitching is the biggest part of run prevention. But if you were going to be a run prevention team, why are you letting this fall by the wayside so much in so many different positions?
Yeah.
So I want to see them get better defensively. If that comes at a sacrifice of some offense, so be it. And look, I know that you're not going to be elite defensively everywhere. I know that that's not possible if you're trying to balance having a viable offense with being a run prevention team. But, like, for example, like Randy Arozarena probably going to be back in 2026. He's obviously not a good left fielder defensively.
No,
but you can live with it because he's a 130 WRC plus guy. And, he almost went 30-30 this year. Yeah,
sure. But like the Mariners are plus at catcher and center field.
Yep.
When Victor Robles is healthy, he is above average in right, but he wasn't healthy for pretty much the entire year. So you were below average in right field for the most part. You were below average in left. You were below average at second for a good chunk of the year, especially when Polo started to play there more. Yeah. You're below average at shortstop. You're below average at third.
Yeah.
And
like with Ben Williamson, right? You got great defensive value there, but
Williamson is
you
like
were getting nothing offensively. Yeah.
Like you need something between Gino and Ben Williamson. That's what you want at third base.
Yeah. Can I get a league average bat and at the very least a slightly above league average glove?
Abraham Toro. So minus the league average bat part. My answer to this question would be talent. Just get more talent.
Sure.
I mean, I know that's the easy answer. I think it's not guaranteed, but I think if you do get better defensively, in theory, your defense would get better because just the archetype of a player, typically good defenders, they don't have as much power, it's just kind of how it goes most of the time. Like if, for example, at second base, like Nico Horner, right? If you think, I need better second base defense, I'm going to go trade for Nico Horner. It's like, okay, well, Horner also helps your contact and your speed, so having this kind of like idea that like, I want to approach defense, probably not definitely, but probably going to improve your athleticism and your contact rates as well. Now at third base, it's different because that's just such a power hitting position, blah, blah, blah. But defense I think is an important one. I think defense is more important than contact rates and all that. For me, like if we're doing like a real like area, not just, I think some more swing and miss out of the bullpen would be really nice.
Huge.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm looking at. More swing and miss out of the bullpen, defense, run prevention. Still a big part of this. And again, if you want to be a run prevention team, fine. The Mariners this year, kind of middle of the pack in run prevention. And, good deal of that is their starting pitching injuries, but the bullpen didn't miss a ton of bats. And if you're going to allow contact to a below average defense, you're going to give more runs, period. So I think some swing and miss out of the bullpen would be really nice.
Again, what was a big issue in Game 6 and, and an opportunity where you could go to the World Series? You committed 3 errors. Yeah. Like, again, it's just, you're saying that you want to be one thing, but ultimately the product that you're fielding in a way is the antithesis of that. Right. Like, again, like I know that you're not going to be incredible defensively at every single spot, but you need to make a real effort to get better in those areas and at least get as close to average at every position as possible. The other thing that I would say here, I think you need a real leadoff hitter.
Yeah.
Like a real traditional leadoff hitter. I like JP more as like the 9-hole hitter, 8-hole, 9-hole hitter. I think he's a good page turner.
It's just too streaky to be your full-time leadoff guy.
Yeah. And while I really like Randy, I like Randy more somewhere in the middle of my lineup. Yeah. So I would like a legit traditional leadoff hitter. Hey, Nico Horner, kind of a great fit for that.
Checks a lot of boxes, doesn't he?
Checks off a lot of the other boxes that we just talked about as well. So
pretty much everything we've talked about except more swing and miss out of the bullpen, which maybe he's got a knuckleball. I don't know.
Rayleigh fan wants to know, with Garver most likely gone, does that mean Harry Ford is in line to be the backup catcher in your opinion? Yeah, for now. I mean, he might get traded though. There's always that possibility. And at that point, if Harry does get traded, I think they should actually entertain the possibility of bringing Mitch Garver back as just the strict backup catcher. If it's going to cost like $3 million, sure, why not? He's a fine backup catcher. The problem with Mitch Garver is that he was your primary right-handed bat to come off the bench against the lefty.
Yeah,
that's an issue. But as a backup catcher, he's totally fine.
Yeah,
he's totally fine, and he knows this pitching staff very well. So you already have that rapport in place.
Yep.
So yeah, if Harry is no longer part of the club, I think they should actually legitimately look at bringing Garver back into the fold. And again, if it's just as a backup catcher, that is totally fine. The issue with Garver and his tenure in Seattle was that you brought him in for the bat, and the bat significantly regressed, and pretty much all the power that he had in Minnesota and Texas was sapped. It was gone. It just disappeared.
Yeah. Garver, $3.5-4 million is totally fine. It's a good value there. From being a backup catcher in general. So I think Harry Ford's the guy, but if they trade him, they're not going to go and, they're not going to go with Blake Hunt as the backup catcher. Like it's too important of a position to go with Jacob Nottingham for an entire year. Like they're going to want to bring in a veteran to be the backup catcher. And there's really not a lot of, true backup catchers that make more sense for this club than Mitch Garver. So if Harry Ford's here, he'll be the backup. The Mariners will have saved, about $3 million on the bench by having Harry Ford available. And he'll provide different things like athleticism and base running and all that off the bench. If they do trade Harry Ford, then I think Garver's kind of the ideal backup catcher to go and re-sign if you can.
All right, we got a few more of your questions to answer here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is once again brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back, and there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I bought tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It's Mailbag Monday. Let's get back into your questions. Mariners fan 2412 wants to know, for a potential Tarik Skubal trade, what could a package possibly look like? The place that we've landed on, and Mark Feinstein of MLB.com did an article where he talked to some people around the league about this. They kind of landed in a similar area. The Corbin Burns trade but something a bit better than that, like somewhere between the Corbin Burns trade and the Garrett Crochet trade.
The Burns trade was one top 100 prospect, one former top 100 prospect who had some major league seasoning but wasn't all that good, and a comp round A pick, right? And for Crochet, I believe it was 3 top 100 prospects was in that deal. So I think 2 is probably the number you land on if you're the Mariners. And I think, if you're the Tigers, you're going to be like, okay, give us Colt Emerson. You're going to say no. You're going to say no to that. You're going to say no to Kate Anderson too, I would think. After that, I think you're open to anything if you do, in fact, have interest in Skubal. But I do think it's going to be probably 2 top 100 prospects and then like a third like good prospect, but maybe not elite prospect. And this is where the Mariners kind of get into a little bit of a gray area, is that the Mariners top 9 or 10 are so good that naturally there's a huge drop off in like the 11 to 20 range from the 1 to 10 range. So you might not have that like middle ground prospect. Like I guess maybe Luke Stevenson is probably your closest thing, but it's a very difficult thing to navigate. But I think it's going to be 2 top 100 prospects. You are probably going to have a comp round B pick this year. So maybe it's something like, and I would imagine the Tigers would prefer guys who are pretty close to the big leagues. So maybe it's something like Laz and Senja, or Laz and maybe like more of a Sloan, and then like your comp round B pick probably get you in the conversation. I don't know if it gets it done though.
Kent wants to know, unless Kate Anderson and Colt Emerson make very big impacts in 2026, I don't see how the M's field a better team next year. We signed Josh Naylor, which we should do, and there will be enough money left to sign maybe Willie Castro. You can make some lateral trades to help, but better than 2025? Question mark.
Well, Kent, it sounds like you're describing the same dilemma Ty and I have as we begin to craft our off-season plan, which you all can listen to by subscribing to our Patreon down below. We will start that process today, and this is a very real problem that I ran into crafting my individual plan. And today, Ty and I will share our plans with each other, and then we will ball them all up and throw them away and try and come together and to some kind of agreement. It's a lot of fun, probably for you guys. But yeah, I mean, it is. You look at it and you say, okay, let's say hypothetically the Mariners do go to, 165, 170. Cool. Right now, to bring back everybody except for the 2 obvious non-tender guys, you're at about 125, and then that everybody who's not a free agent, like all the ARB guys, you're at 125, and then you always have to leave like 5 to 7 million open just for like in-season call-ups and stuff like that, emergencies that come up in the middle of the year, and you have to call guys up from the 40-man. So in reality, they're at about 130. So even if you have $35 million to spend, Josh Naylor is going to take 18 to 20-ish of that. And boom, yeah, you have $15 million to spend. You still have second base, third base, right field, DH, shortstop, in theory, bullpen. And you only have $15 million. So you have to pick and choose what you're going to go out and try to get. It's a problem that I definitely ran into doing my offseason plan. So yeah, it's kind of, do you want to spend the last $15 million on one guy and then kind of go with the rookies? Or do you want to try and get 3 like part-time players and kind of make it work that way? Or do you have to salary dump players or try to get really creative and trade salaries to build a better team? So it is a difficult maneuver there. It is worth noting that also Cal Raleigh is almost certainly going to decline. He's going to come back to the mean a little bit, but you're also not factoring in, a full season of Josh Naylor, who was almost a 2-win player in 1/3 of a season here. That's better than the other 2/3 of all the Mariners first basemen did combined. And so that's a huge jump. You're not factoring in the possibility of regression to the mean in a positive sense with the starting pitching staff, who all kind of have down years this year, except for Brian Wu. That's certainly a possibility. You're not factoring in improvements of Cole Young. You're not factoring in, Julio possibly taking another step. So like, it is hard to, build a better team on paper with the budget, but you also have to factor in that like players do get better from year to year. Like we're assuming like, oh, Cole Young is going to be what he was last year. And that's, a safe place to assume. But what if Cole Young hits 260 with a 340 on base? It is like a 3-win second baseman. That is not outside the realm of possibility whatsoever. So yeah, I think you're right. But also I think you need to factor in some positive regression along with negative regression as well.
All right, Nick wants to know, what are the odds Stephen Kwan is back on the market this winter? Could he play right field? I would say pretty good chance, because it seemed like they were pretty close to trading him at the deadline.
At one point, I believe it was Rosenthal said the Guardians are expected to trade Stephen Kwan before the deadline. And then for whatever reason, it fell apart. It didn't materialize in time. But yeah, he's got 2 years left. He's starting to make real money. Cleveland is legitimately one of the, most frugal teams. They don't like to spend money on it. They let Francisco Lindor walk, who's like one of the best players they've ever had. So yeah, I mean, they're not afraid to wait a year and trade a guy with 1 year left, even though they know they'll get less in return for that player. They did it with Naylor. They did it with Lindor. So they're not afraid to hold on to guys until their walk year and trade them in the offseason. But this is about the time they would start to consider trading Stephen Kwan. And because we heard the rumors that there's teams who think he's going to be traded, this deadline, I think it's safe to say that he is available. It's just you're going to have to pay a little bit for him. Obviously more than you would a year from now. But yes, I do think he is going to be made available. Whether or not he gets moved, I don't know. But I don't think you're wasting your time to pick up the phone and call them on Kwan.
Could he play right field? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
he has one of the best arms in baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know if this stuck, but I know for quite a while he led the American League in outfield assists. He's got a strong, accurate arm.
He was 100th percentile in arm value this year.
Yeah. So, and again, it's not like Addison Barger's arm where it's just like, oh my God, it's a howitzer. No, it's a very strong arm, but it's accurate too, and he has a quick release and all that. Arm strength is what you worry about in right field. They have to make the longest throws on the field. Kwan has plenty of arm strength to handle that position.
68th percentile in arm strength, but 100th percentile in arm value. So
right. So he's got plenty of arm strength to handle that position. But the reason you want your stronger arm in right field is just because they make longer throws.
Yep.
Right. The throw from left field to second base in right field to second base. I mean, obviously depending on where the ball is hit, but for the most part, the same. The throw from left field to third base and right field to third base, much longer from right. So that's why you want your best arm in right field. And Kwan has a better arm. I mean, in this scenario, you would assume that, Randy Arozarena is the other corner outfielder. Well, Randy doesn't have a good arm, so he needs to play left. So that means Kwan kind of has to play right. Could he do it? Yeah, he'd be fine there. No question about it. Probably plus.
All right, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Tarik Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Tarik Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.